What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the TB Toycast YouTube channel, and today I'm bringing you episode 3 of What's on the Pegs. We are literally going to talk about what I am finding on the pegs, always hitting them stores, always checking out what's new or what's exciting on the pegs. But let me know in the comments below, what did you find? What were you looking for? Did you find anything cool, or did you find anything that is worth talking about? Because, you know, all the time in this very video, you're going to see something I wasn't aware of, and I'm like, oh, wow, okay, that's interesting. So that's what's oftentimes fun about the thrill of the hunt, as they say. It's not even so much what you buy, it's what you see at times. But make sure, if you're new to the channel, make sure to check out my unboxing videos. I have new unboxing videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so check out all of those. A very wide range of different products, and of course the TB Toycast podcast every Thursday, wherever you get your podcast, as well as once a month, Tales of the Toy Box. A new episode has just dropped, WWF Hasbro Series 1, so check that out right here on this very YouTube channel. But we're going to start off with a fun one, the old Ben Cooper kids from NECA. I haven't really talked about these much. They're fun. I don't know if they're for me. I think it's a cool idea, you know, basically a Halloween costume. It seemed like it was going to be like a Halloween-style release, but in fact has actually been kind of a year-round thing. So we're seeing them dip into the superheroes, of course, with Batman and Joker there, and then, of course, with Nosferatu and some of the other monsters. Very, very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Is this something you guys collect? Are you into it? If they were a little cheaper, this might be something I dive into, but again, kind of cool. And I like how the costumes are very similar to what they would have been back in the day. Batman saying Batman, Joker, instead of just being the suit, it actually has his face. I think they're kind of fun. So again, if they were a little bit of a cheaper price point, it might be something I dive into, but at this point, I don't see that happening. This is a cool one from Super 7, a Motorhead Lemmy Motu style figure, unpunched too. That was kind of interesting. These don't quite do it for me, the Super 7 versions, the articulation only being at, you know, the 5 points, no elbow joints, no knee joints. It doesn't really quite do it for me, but this is kind of cool. You can see Lemmy fighting the the evil forces of Skeletor, right? That kind of makes sense. So it's kind of a fun figure. Maybe not for me, but it is cool to see it out there in the wild for sure. Then I got to talk about the Super Friends. I actually picked up both of these, the Riddler and Universe of Evil Batman. I was pretty adamantly against the DC Retro line. I was just like, I don't need those. And they were focusing mostly on Batman 66 back then. But with this Super Friends line, man, I'm kind of digging them a little bit more. And seeing the Riddler, of course, and, you know, the regular Batman. Of course, this is the Chase version of both of these figures. But definitely cool. I also have Lex Luthor. I have Green Lantern now. And Batman in the collection. The only one I'm missing is Sinestro, so I will be picking that up soon. But hopefully we get an announcement for Wave 3 of Super Friends. Love the carding, and I love the distressed look of the carding, which I think I've talked about before. Really cool stuff. Always cool seeing some NECA stuff, of course. Ultimate Michael Myers from the 2018 version of Halloween, and then, of course, a classic in Frankenstein. I do have both of these. Well, I don't know if I have this version of Michael Myers, but I do have a Michael Myers, and I haven't unboxed them yet. I kind of am hot and cold on NECA. Sometimes I'm like, oh, I got to get all the monsters, and other times I'm like, nah, don't really need them. So I will get around to them. I always kind of told myself I want like the Universal monsters, and I want like the classic slashers, you know, Michael Myers, Freddy, Jason, etc. So that's pretty much what I got, and I'm sure at certain points I will pick up others, but right now that's the only ones I've got. I've got about 10 or 12 of them, I think. So this line, what do you guys think of this retro line from Spin Master? It is a DC retro collection. It's Batman Forever. They also have Batman, which I have here. Obviously, they have the Riddler, Two-Face, and Robin. They're only about $9, so the price point's very much on the cheap side of things. So that's nice, but I don't know. Just don't see myself getting them. You guys into these? Fun idea? Yay, nay? I don't know. $9 isn't bad, but maybe not for me. So I love going to vintage toy shops, and I saw this, Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, I thought was such a fun movie. I remember when the DC movies, the animated movies in the mid-2000s were hitting. Some were okay, some were so-so, but Superman, Batman, Public Enemies was fantastic, and I thought this was so cool, and I love this version of Superman. It actually would fit in well with your DC Universe Classics figures if you collect those. Love the articulation, love kind of the metallic paint job on it, so $40, a little expensive, but still seeing it was pretty cool. And, oh man, these were interesting. The Ultimate like UFC style. I don't even know what these things are called, but I remember a lot of these. Of course, we got Anderson Silva and Don Fry. Big Don Fry fan. Didn't pick them up. What are they, 15? I think Don Fry's 25, so a little bit on the expensive side of things, but we don't see a lot of MMA figures, which we're going to dive into that a little bit later on, but I saw these, I was like, oh, that's really cool. Because MMA, do they need action figures? I don't know if that fan base is so into collectibles, but still kind of cool to see, and something kind of unique and different for sure. How about this one? I've seen this at one of my local vintage toy shops for a very long time, and that is an LJN style classic superstar Shawn Michaels. $25, not a terrible price point at all. But this Shawn Michaels, I never really hit in the feels. It never felt like an LJN, and I feel like until the big rubber guys came along, nothing had ever really felt like an LJN, and I think that's why they never really hit, at least for me. Still cool to see it, but it's definitely not my favorite. But what do you guys think? Something you'd be into? I don't know. Just can't pull the trigger on it. Good old Star Wars. I don't collect a lot of Star Wars. I have dabbled in them a little bit, but to me, the thing with Star Wars is just it's fun to see unique characters. Night Brother Warrior here. He looks like a yellow Darth Maul. He's obviously from the gaming universe, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and that's what's interesting about the Black Series. It can be the games, the movies, the television shows. You never really know. They're all over the place, but I just thought this was a cool figure. And then, of course, we got a Jawa over there next to him, which is also pretty fun. $20 each on these. Can't beat that. Not a terrible price point at all, but yeah, Night Brother Warrior. I think there's also a Night Brother Archer. I think I have that, actually, because I was buying Star Wars Black there for a minute, but kind of got out of that a little bit. They're cool for sure, but they're just that's a different little collection for sure. But what do you guys think? Would this be one you pick up? Like, if you buy these, is it like a unique character, or does it have to be one that you know the character of? I think that's what is always interesting about collecting stuff like this. The Party Wallop. For all you Transformers fans out there, the Ninja Turtles van as a Transformer. This was a fun idea. $50 price point is a little expensive on this. I've seen one of these at Walmart, and of course this is at a vintage toy shop. But I think these crossover style figures are really cool. I know they recently did like the Knight Rider car, and I know they've done the DeLorean as well. I think it's kind of interesting, kind of fun, kind of different. Maybe not for everybody, but why not? Why not do a turtle van? I think that's kind of cool. Might have to pick this up at some point. Ultimate Muscle. Oh, man, was this line fun. These came out in the early 2000s. I was still in high school, as a matter of fact. And I remember there was a Kmart connected to a Little Caesars connected to a Kmart, rather. Sometimes in high school, we would go eat lunch at the Little Caesars, get like some pan pizzas and stuff, and then always check out the toys and the video games while we were there before we had to head back to school. And I remember seeing these and just being like, wow, these are awesome. Because, Ultimate Muscle, most of us remember like the 1-inch solid colored figures. But these articulated figures were awesome. I think they made like 8 or 9 different guys. As you can see, they had several there. But I snagged a picture of Kid Muscle. He's got his bowl of ramen, it looks like, and then a title belt, which is really cool. But the articulation on these was really cool. They didn't really match what was on the market already, but still fun. So it was definitely one I was happy to grab back in the day. I didn't buy it today. $35 is a little expensive, but still cool that it's mint on card. Wildcats. How cool were these figures? I remember loving the Wildcats cartoon. It aired on USA back in the day, along with Savage Dragon, which I wasn't real familiar with, like Image Comics or anything, but I just thought these were cool. And kind of crazy to think it was Jim Lee who kind of did the original X-Men art style, came up with Wildcats. So knowing that years later, like, oh, these are great, but you got Pike and Spartan there. I always thought Spartan was super cool. There's also a DC multiverse of, was it Grifter? I think it was his name. So I would like to see all the Wildcats show up in DC multiverse. I mean, Todd's about to lose the license. Hopefully it happens. It hasn't yet. We've only gotten Grifter, but hopefully that happens down the road, because these figures are great. These were from Playmates back in the day. Love the artwork. Everything about these was really cool. I have picked up a couple of these in the past. I don't even think I unboxed them. So maybe sometime down the road I'll start diving into Wildcats again. Who knows? Power Rangers Legacy. So these were a pretty big deal. Now, these hit before the days of the Lightning Collection from Hasbro. These were still from Bandai. And I remember when these were hitting, it was like, whoa, these are great. As you can see out of the Space Rangers, there's a Build-A-Megazord in there, which I thought was a fun idea. Obviously, they lost the license. Hasbro took over. The Lightning Collection was fun. It didn't totally hit. But something about these is really cool. I know a lot of people are very opinionated on the new Playmates line that's about to hit. I don't know. I'm going to wait and see on those. I hope it's good. I can see how people think it probably won't be, but I'm going to reserve judgment. Hopefully it turns out good, but we'll see what happens. But these were fun. Who knows? Maybe I'll go back and dive into these at some point because I do like how these look a lot. Really cool looking figures. So it's not really a toy, but I had to throw it in an American Gladiators lunchbox. Wow, does that not take you back? What a cool time. And it reminds me of like the classic lunchboxes. You can also see their real Ghostbusters there in the corner, just and a Batman one, of course. I miss old school lunchboxes. And if I was a kid, I would have absolutely got a American Gladiators lunchbox if I saw it. Only $10, almost picked it up anyway. Very, very cool stuff. Some Marvel Legends here. I've been telling you guys I've been kind of wanting to get some Marvel Legends figures again. I don't really know why, and I'm talking about the Toy Biz versions, but as you can see there, Bullseye and Marvel and Elektra and a few others. Very, very cool. I always like the packaging. The comic inserted in there was really cool. This is just a fun idea, so who knows? Maybe some Marvel Legends Toy Biz will be coming home sooner rather than later. And then back at Walmart here, these Mix and Mashers. What do you guys think about these? They have Marvel, they have Star Wars, I think even Transformers. Definitely a kids-based line, but I guess you can mix and match the parts, so you could put Black Panther's arm on Captain America, or Thanos' head on Black Panther, and all that stuff. And I guess they cross-pollinate with all the other lines, I would assume. So Star Wars, Transformers, that might be kind of a fun thing for the kids. I think as a kid, I would have loved that. Nowadays, doesn't really do much for me, but I thought it'd be kind of worth talking about a little bit. And another vintage toy shop, I saw these Fortnite action figures. I remember these were real popular about 4 or 5 years ago. And then the popularity seemingly just died all at once. Here's what's interesting. My nephew is 11 years old, and him and all his friends love Fortnite. They can't get enough Fortnite. So it makes me wonder if maybe this should return. Like, is that popularity back? I'm sure that whole generation grew out of it, but it seems like a whole new generation is back into it. So I wouldn't be shocked if we don't see Fortnite making a comeback sometime in the next year or so. We'll have to wait and see. And finally, I'm going to wrap it up with this. Octagon Fighters. What did you guys think about this? This was so interesting to me. I saw these. They look like a punching bag, of course. It's a build-your-own Octagon set. And it looks like it includes a fighter and a mini 2 stickers, a mini poster, and then I guess part of the Octagon. Is that right? 14 fighters to collect. I don't know much about them. I did not buy it. The figures did not look great. They looked almost, Gumball Machine-esque to me. $10 is a little expensive for a mystery type figure, but I can appreciate UFC trying. Again, I go back to UFC has never been super successful with toys. Whether it be Funko Pops or the Jakks line, the Jazzwares line, it's never really hit. And I wonder if it's because the fan base is just not into toys, where WWE, a lot of the fan base is. That being said, back in the 90s, even in the early 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, starting lineup was huge, right? Which you'll see some starting lineup coming up on this channel. Spoiler. And that's, again, our sports fans, toy collectors, not always, but maybe this is something where the UFC fans will dive into this. It's hard to say. If you're a UFC fan out there and you are into the toys, let me know. Shout me out in the comments down below, because I felt like that's kind of the issue the Jakks line had, is that it just a lot of the UFC diehards probably weren't buying toys. They probably weren't buying things like trading cards and probably not buying Funko Pops, and so those lines never really took off, but who's to say? But that's all for this edition of What's on the Pegs, Episode 3. Thank you guys for checking it out. Let me know what you found on the pegs. If you found something cool, something different, or something similar, drop it in the comments down below. Make sure to follow me at TB Toycast on Instagram and Twitter, as always, or the X, right? I guess what it is now. Also on Facebook at TB Toycast. And make sure, like I said, check out all the unboxings every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the TB Toycast podcast every Thursday. Thank you guys for checking out What's on the Pegs, and we will see you in the toy aisle.